Talk about digestion. How does it work and where does it start? Most of you would think it starts in your mouth, but actually it starts in your head, and it's called the Cephilic Phase, which means as soon as you see food or you smell food or you think about food, you get hungry. The body starts secreting saliva and also starts secreting stomach acid, hydrochloric acid. And that is the beginning of the digestive process. Now let's take a closer look and see how it works. All right, so the food enters the oral cavity, the body starts secreting saliva to mix it up to like a slimy ball, and also the body starts secreting amylase, which is a enzyme that breaks down carbohydrates. So once it turns to that slimy ball, we call that bolus. The bolus gets pushed down through a peristaltic movement, which means that this tube, the esophagus, pushes the food down in a wavy muscle contraction, which means even if you would do a handstand, it would still get pushed down in your stomach and it wouldn't fall out. So once it enters your stomach, now it's getting interesting. So we have the liver, the gallbladder, and the pancreas. So the liver and the gallbladder help it to break it down even more. They secrete bile. And then the pancreas, very important because the pancreas has all the enzymes to break down the food. The enzymes breaking down the food to the smallest particles. Like protein gets broken down to peptides and then amino acids. Fat gets broken down into fatty acids, and carbs get broken down in simple sugar, such as glucose, fructose, and galactose. And that is the only way how the body can use food as energy. All right, what's next? All right, as we said, food turns into chyme, which is nothing else than a combination of food, enzymes, bile, and saliva. So once it's been, mixed in the stomach with the hydrochloric acid for about 2.5 to 3 hours, depending on the combination of food, now it enters the beginning of the small intestines. And there are 3 parts of the small intestines. The beginning part is the duodenum, and then with the juveum, and then with the ileum. Most of it takes place, most of the absorption of minerals and vitamins and all the nutrients takes place in the middle part. And the way it looks like, as you can see here, this is how it looks like internally. You can see it looks like those little fingers, they're called villi. And those villi basically, get all the food particles and through a complex process, get it into the bloodstream. So the way it looks like is like this. You have, trillions of those little villi, those little fingers, and you can see all those food particles going in here. Here you can see the break of villi, which means that is considered a leaky gut, when the food can enter without getting filtered. It's basically going through the bloodstream without a security check, or going in a plane without getting checked by security. And you never know what's in there. So, and once the food particles enters the bloodstream here, now they can get transported to the cells. Now, such as iron and B12, they need a carrier called ferritin, which basically docks on to B12 or iron, and they get transported to the cells. Amino acids, fatty acids, and glucose don't need any carrier. They get transported through the cells with the bloodstream. So, and once everything is in the bloodstream, now it goes through the cells. Now, the cells basically, as you can see here, the cells has hundreds of thousands of mitochondria, which are those ancient bacteria within our cells. And they create energy for the human body so that you can fully function and that you can heal. And if that is not, and this is really where a lot of those diseases are starting. because if the mitochondria cannot produce the energy with the food you eat because you're eating junk food, then how is the mitochondria supposed to, give you energy or make you feel good or, heal any kind of diseases? That's another topic, but that's really the beginning of where it starts. And what happens to the waste, all the waste material? Now the waste material, basically enters here from behind. There's a sphincter here, like a muscle that, closes and opens, and it enters the colon. And now here in the colon, it goes through the last movement, and the large colon only secretes water and salt and some minerals, and it makes it to this, sausage-looking poop. And then it enters, it goes through the process again. It goes through like a peristaltic movement, the wave-like movement of the colon, and then eventually it comes down the descending colon to the rectum and the anus, and you poop it out. And here, let's talk about the poop, because the poop, as funny as it sounds, but the poop is the window to your health. I can look at your poop and tell you what's wrong with you, and that's not even a joke. So we have a few samples. If it's like those lumpy like balls or like lumpy sausages, which means you're constipated or very constipated, which means you need more fibers, drink more water. If it's a chronic, then obviously you should see a doctor. There might be some underlying issues. And then we have here type 3 and 4, which is pretty normal. This is like the perfect poop, like sausage-like, not too hard, not too soft. If it has some like, ridges on here, that's fine too. And here we slowly go to like diarrhea. Diarrhea also means that you could have inflammation, or again, if it's consistent, if it's chronic, you might have some underlying issues, which you should discuss with the doctor. But for the most part, it just means like temporary inflammation you got from the food, maybe a pathogen came through or something, and usually after a couple hours or like a day, worst case scenario, it stops. And that's basically the entire process. Now you can see how complex it is internally. By the time the food enters through all cavity and actually goes through the entire process, how it gets converted to energy, and the waste material gets pooped out. And then I can look at your poop and still tell you what's wrong with you. Isn't it great? Thank you for watching, and I hope it was helpful. Bye.